Hello and welcome to another edition of Wellbeing on Spectrum Television. Wellbeing is an interactive program designed to encourage a healthy living. I am your host, my name is Mary Joseph, and today we would be delving into a critical topic that affects the well-being of individuals around the globe, which is gender-based violence, as we join hands with the rest of the world to mark this year's 16 days activism against gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is a silent epidemic that affects millions. Statistically, 1 in 3 women worldwide. From November 25th, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December 10th, which is the Human Rights Day, this crucial period is dedicated to raising awareness and catalyzing action. And the theme for this year's movement is Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls. Gender-based violence is not only a public health crisis, but also a matter of gender equality and human rights, and beyond the visible scars survivors often face, long-term health challenges from chronic pain to increased vulnerability to various health conditions. While women globally endure the impact of violence, certain groups such as those with disabilities, adolescent girls and older women face even greater challenges in having their voices heard and accessing support. It is time now to amplify these voices and ensure that no one is left behind. But in all of this, the question remains, how is Nigeria addressing this issue? Well, this and many more will be the focus of our discussion in today's episode of Wellbeing. I would be joined with my guest, and we would be exploring the initiatives and strategies in place to tackle gender-based violence in Nigeria. Do remember to be a part of this family by following us on all our social media platforms at Spectrum TV, or you can visit our website at spectrumtv.ng. But let's just quickly go on the short break. We'll be right back.
Good health, they say, is something you can't buy. But the decision to live healthy is a choice that you'd have to make. Join health practitioners from diverse health fields as they provide you with vital information to help your day-to-day health decisions on Wellbeing, your wellness talk show. Wellbeing airs every Monday, 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Spectrum TV.
You're welcome back to the show. It's still the program Wellbeing, your wellness talk show that is designed to keep you health conscious. Do remember to follow us on all our social media handles at Spectrum TV, or you could visit our website at spectrumtv.ng to be a part of this family. Before we went on that short break, I introduced the topic of discussion, and today we would embark on a powerful journey as we dive into the heart of a movement that is breaking chains and reshaping the narrative. Welcome to our special feature on the 16 days activism against gender-based violence. I am joined virtually by my guest, who is part of an initiative that is at the forefront of this movement in Nigeria. I am joined by Ms. Mercy Abalaku. She is the Program Officer, Education as a Vaccine. It's good to have you join me on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well.
All right. So first off, in your own perspective, what is the core essence of the 16 days activism against gender-based violence, and how does this contribute to the broader movement?
Thank you for this very good question. 16 days of activism kickstarts every 25th November and ends 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day. In these 16 days, we have different activities that a lot of NGOs, a lot of individuals, ministries, MDAs come together for the same cause. What's that cause? It's an international day where we eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. Wherever they face this violence, in the school, in their homes, in their working places, we all come together and we're driving to one cause. And then the 16 days of activism also is a powerful platform to raise awareness and also to demand action. What are those actions? We want to end violence. A lot of women face violence. A lot of women don't even talk about it. They shy away from talking about it. Why? Because there's stigma, there's shame, there's fear. If I talk about it, they're going to blame me. If I talk about it, what will happen? Nobody will take action. But we should also put in mind that even before it happens, we should put preventive measures. We should put preventive measures. There should be policies that will guide women and girls against this violence before they even happen. So we don't have to be blaming ourselves when it happens. So when we talk about coming together to, like, this year's theme is, every year has its theme. This year's
Yeah.
theme is Unite, Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls.
Yeah.
What are we investing? Is it our effort? Is it our voice? We need to bring one thing to show that yes, we're all united in this cause and we're fighting towards the same cause.
Okay.
When we talk about 16 days of activism, we don't, it's not just about the women. We want to also involve the men, because the men have to be aware. If we're protecting our women and then we're creating awareness for them, what happens to a young man who doesn't even know about it? He has to also be aware that violence is an offense. If I if a lady, if I abuse a lady because of her gender, it also boils out to me. So I need to be also aware that I should avoid all forms of violence
Now, for the
against
sake
women and
of
girls. So
clarity,
that's why the 16 days.
okay, so for the sake of clarity, now let's just take a look at the major forms of gender-based violence so that persons could understand the violence that we are talking about against women and young girls. So can you take us through the different forms of gender-based violence?
Yes, the forms, they are physical, they're emotional, they're verbal, and they're also sexual. When you talk about the physical, that's when you beat a girl, you slap a woman, you kick her. When you talk about the emotional one, that's when you neglect your wife, your children, you don't give them food, you don't provide for them their necessary needs, you don't show them love. How about the verbal violence? You're speaking words that are hurtful. You're speaking words to people. Why are you ugly? Why are you fat? They are all forms of violence. Then you talk about the sexual violence when we talk about the rape. That's when the rape comes into play. You're you're forcing your penis into a lady because of opportunity, or because you feel you have more power than her. So these are the forms of violence to talk about. But lately, a lot of men now understand that women are aware that when you beat them or kick them, they want to fight back or they want to go and report. So now they are now channeling their efforts to emotional violence, where they want to deal with the woman silently. You know, that kind of silent treatment too. It's really, really breaking down a lot of men. That's why you hear women committing suicide here and there. You don't even hear stories that the husband has been beating them. No, but probably he has been measuring the emotional violence on her. Doesn't provide for the family. He doesn't show care. He goes out of the house and comes back when he likes. He doesn't even return home. And then he's like, when I beat you now, or I raise my hand on you, you're going to say, yes, I just abused, I slapped you, which is a physical violence. So we need to we need to know all the forms of violence, so we know where we're uniting and channeling energy to.
Now, you mentioned something about diverse groups. So can you speak to us about the inclusivity of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, ensuring that diverse voices and experiences are heard in the fight against gender-based violence? Now, when we're talking about groups, we're talking about vulnerable groups, persons living with disability and all of that. So can you tell us, what is this campaign aimed after when we talk about inclusivity?
And so when you're talking about inclusivity, you talk about people who are disabled, people who cannot speak for themselves. Before now, we plan projects, we plan activities without including them because we feel they are not important in the society. But it's not true. They are even the people that experience violence more, because they cannot fight back, they cannot speak sometimes, and then we leave them thinking, okay, who will even look at somebody that is crippled, that doesn't walk, or who even go close to them? But it's not true. I've had to work in Kaduna, and then most of the people that reported cases to me then were ladies who were disabled. And I'm like, okay, if this thing happens to them, so I took it upon myself that yes, these are special cases, and I have to also treat them as special cases, because this particular set of people, they cannot fight back. Someone that is crippled cannot run. Someone that cannot speak well cannot shout or scream. Someone that does not hear will not even understand the language you're speaking. So we have to include all these people into our programming, so they are also treated equally. Not because I don't have one arm, I don't have one leg, means that, okay, I'm not part of the society.
Okay.
This set of people are special people, and when we interact with them, we know that they have special talents that even people that have both hands, both ears, both legs don't even have those talents like them.
Okay, now the theme for the Unite campaign in 2023 is invest to prevent violence against women and girls. So, where do you think this theme is actually significant, and what do you think are the investments that we can all contribute together individually and even at the government level to prevent this?
So this year's theme, which is invest to prevent violence against men and girls, talks about everybody contributing. Are you contributing your voice? Are you partnering with a CSO, with an MDA, with ministries? We have to invest. Is it money? Are you bringing in your penny? Are you bringing in your capabilities? Are you bringing in your ideas? It's not a one man's fight. It's not a one lady's fight. All of us need to come together. That's where we talk about partnership too. Partnership with CSOs. When you talk about 16 days, then people just think that, okay, it's just the NGOs that is their business. Let them do it alone. No. Now everybody is aware that 16 days of activism is not just for the NGOs. It's for everybody, students, civil servants, MDAs, stakeholders. Everybody has to be involved. That's why you see now that if you are holding a meeting, a stakeholders meeting, forums, we invite every stakeholder, because we need to hear what do you do, what are practices in your office, what are those violence in your office, how do we now program it into our everyday activities, how do we avoid that, do you have a safeguarding policies? We also need to train officers on these safeguarding policies. That's when the do no harm comes into play. You're working with a young girl, you're working with a young woman, you're working with your colleagues. What are you doing not to put this person in a harm's way? You're preventing the person instead of putting the person in harm's way. So all of us need to invest with our voice, with our monies, with our energies, with our resources. We need to invest to end this violence against women and girls.
All right, so what role do you think education play in shaping the understanding of the essence of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence?
Education is a very, very important tool. We know that when you educate a lady, the usual cliche that they say, when you educate a woman, you educate the nation, not just the women. We should educate both men and women. When I'm educated, I know when to say yes and when to say no. That's when I have good communication skills. I'll be assertive. When somebody is approaching me, of course, I'll learn to say no. If I was not educated, I'm sure you wouldn't have invited me for this show. Which is plus for me. So I know that, okay, because of my level of education, I can speak to women about it. Gone are those days when you say you don't educate women because they will stand up to overpower you, or they will show you that they are now the man in the house. It's not so. You educate a woman because she's also important in decision making. She's also important because she's also going to contribute positively, especially what happens and affects her directly. So education is very important. If for example, in school settings, we don't just go to learn about academics, we also learn about character, and then there are other things that form in place. You're learning character, you're learning discipline, you're learning how to talk, you're learning how to address people, you're learning how to speak the right words to people so you don't harm the people. So education is very, very vital in everything we do. If we're not educated, of course, we wouldn't have been developed to this stage. So education is important. We shouldn't just underrate it and say it's just for the men or for specific people. That's why we also need to channel our energies to public sectors, that's the public schools, where education is neglected.
That takes me to education as a vaccine. Are there any innovative approaches or initiative that EVA might deploy within the 16 days activism movement all around the world, all around Nigeria at the moment?
Yes, of course. Whenever we're in this period, we take it seriously because we don't joke about it. Why? Because we are a youth-led, women-led organization. Anything that has to be women is on our head. We carry it everywhere. So we've been planning for this since last month, October. We have two departments in my office, the ICCS, that's the individual, community, and capacity strengthening, and we have the advocacy. So these two departments plan activities. We have activities that we're going to do online, which is a social media campaign, which boils down to awareness. We know that, yes, the world is going digital now. Then we also have physical activities. We intend to do rally. We intend to do like a candlelight for those who have lost their lives due to SGBV. We also intend to do like write stories of people who have been abused, different forms of abuse. We've got stories in the past. We want to use this story also to inform people. These are what your brothers are going through. These are what your sisters. What are you doing? How are you investing to see that this ends? It's not something that should be a trend. Now, when somebody reports, he just relaxes and say, okay, even if I report, nothing happens. When you go to community work and you're fighting this cause, you tell people, report, tell me, I'll help you. Wherever I can, I'll help you. They'll be like, even if I report, how many cases have you prosecuted? How many cases how many survivors have you brought justice to? So a lot of people are still reluctant. They still feel, okay, it's not even important. It has happened. And then we keep it going, and then the circle keeps going. That's why we need everybody to be aware. We need everybody to be involved, and we need everybody to be protected, especially the women.
Okay, so as we conclude, what are your final thoughts or message to persons who are actually living in silence and in denial, talking about survivors of gender-based violence? So what are your messages to these persons, especially as we ventilate the essence and impact of the 16 days activism against gender-based violence?
Thank you. So my last words for survivors who always practice the culture of silence, we know that a problem shared is half solved. When you speak out what is bothering you, you know you're halfway into solving your problem, or you're almost even solving your problem. When you keep when you keep quiet, you don't tell anybody about it. It keeps disturbing you. You feel that then there's no solution. But once you talk to people about it, you talk to people who you know are confident, that who will not speak it out to other people. Find solutions. Speak to your closest friends, your closest counselors, who can also provide solutions to you. When you keep quiet, there's no help that's going to come to you. It affects you. It affects your mental health. It affects your confidence. It affects everything around you. So you need to also speak out at all times, even if there are signs. We know that violence doesn't just start like that.
Yeah.
There are warning signs.
Okay.
There are warning signs. Once it even starts, you're supposed to speak out. Don't even allow it to happen. That's why we talk about the preventive measure always.
All right. Thank you
Once
so much.
you see signs, you speak out. So that's my final words for people who are survivors and women out there.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Mercy Abalaku. She is the Program Officer, Education as a Vaccine. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You're welcome. So now this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of Wellbeing, and I was speaking with Miss Mercy Abalaku, and we were talking about the essence of the 16 days activism against gender-based violence. But the journey doesn't actually end here. It's a call to action for all, each and every one of us, to stand against a common enemy, which is gender-based violence. Thank you so much. You could also join in the movement, break the silence, and stand against gender-based violence. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Do remember that you could also be a part of this family by following us on all our social media platforms at Spectrum TV, or you could visit our website at spectrumtv.ng. My name is Mary Joseph. Do enjoy the rest of your day.